So this is just a quick message to my people. Okay, you beautiful brown and so-called black people out there in the world all over. Did y'all know how special y'all are? Do y'all know how special you are to the Most High? Like, he said you are so special and that he loved you so much. He created you to be above all nations that are upon the face of the earth. If you don't believe me, open up your Bible and read it. Deuteronomy chapter 7 verse 6 says, "Thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy God, and the Lord thy God has chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth." Above every other nation, every other people upon the face of the earth, you are above them. This is what the Most High declared in his word. God is not a man that he would lie. And this is what our people have to begin to understand. He said he loves you above all people that are upon the face of the earth. Why do you think they try so hard to keep us down, to keep us out, to keep us oppressed, to keep us separated, to keep us conflicting and fighting with one another, to keep us hating one another? Who done this? The so-called white man's done this and been doing this for hundreds and hundreds of years. In that precept specifically, it is declaring segregation. The Most High, when he created us, he always wanted us to be separate, especially from these Edomites, so-called white people. He always wanted us to be separated from them. Being intermingled and entertained with them, entangled with them, it's brought us nothing but bad. Think about it. Countless amount of times, it's brought us nothing but bad things. Go back. Think about our history. Since we came over here to America, and for the natives that are from this land, that are indigenous of America, here in America, this is your land. The moment that so-called white people came in contact with the natives, it's been nothing but bad. And this is what we have to understand, y'all. We have to separate from our enemy. We have to come back together with one another and begin to build each other up and begin to love each other, okay? And with that being said, you cannot do that with an enemy in between you and your people. When our people begin to wake up and actually grasp that concept, how powerful we would be as a nation of people. Right now, our nation, our people, and the majority of our people don't know who they are or where you come from, don't know your ancestors, your great-great-great-great-grandmother. You don't know. So you run to the so-called white man to get a DNA test just for them to give you a lie, to give you some sense of, oh my goodness, this is where I come from. That's a lie. We Israelites, we the children of Israel. You come from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. That so-called white man, that's a fraud. That's not who our Savior is. That's not the real. His name's not Jesus. He was a Hebrew man. Okay? And with that being said, he was very dark skinned. All the things that they so-called don't like about us, they copy. Make it make sense. If you don't like these big lips or this big nose, let them tell it. Or that nappy hair, let them tell it. But then you turn around and you copy it? Like, make it make sense. It's time for my people to wake up and realize how special you truly are. Know who you are. Remember who you are. And know that remember the power and the greatness that is within you. You have to separate from your enemies. Your enemies have pulled you down. And make no mistake, your enemies is so-called whites. The Bible tells us that. We was sold to our enemies. We was brought on ships and sold to our enemies. And no man has bought us. Look at history. That's why they can shoot our people down in the street and go off not guilty. That's why they can have a knee on the neck for 9, 10, however many minutes the officer had his knee on George Floyd's neck until he took his life. And now they ready to acquit him and let him out and go not guilty. The things that they do to us, shoot our sisters down in the street, pregnant, and go off not guilty. How they cheat us. In order for you to get a house loan, your interest is going to be 10 times your white counterpart. In order for you to get a car loan, your interest is going to be 10 times your white counterpart. Y'all, we have to wake up and separate from our enemy. I'm all for segregation because segregation is biblical. And these so-called whites, they know that and they understand it. That's why they cleave so tight to us, y'all. They don't like us, but yet they want to be just like us. And they just can't help themselves but to be up in our business. But with that being said, keep y'all butts in the house. Do not go out there to that April 5th protest, okay? Tomorrow is the Sabbath. Observe the Sabbath. Stay at home. Chill. Don't cook. Don't buy. Don't sell. Honor the Most High. And He'll bless you. Shalom.
Hey family, I think I have summed up the relationship between white America and black America in this country. So stick with me and listen. Okay. The white man in this country represents the husband in this analogy. The black enslaved African, thus now matriculating throughout the years to now being African Americans here, is the wife. So you get a husband, representative of the white man, the wife, black people, okay? But before they got married, this husband, this white man, said, you know what, I need a wife. And I'm going to get her in any way possible. Through trickery, lying, deceit, whatever it takes. I want a wife for my own selfish reasons. And so he goes out and he finds this woman who's just minding her own business, enjoying her life. And he comes to her and he tells her, you are going to be my wife. And she's like, no, I'm not. And he's like, oh no, yes you are. He grabs her, puts handcuffs on her, and drags her to his house where there is a person there to do the ceremony and forces that woman to marry him. So now the husband, again, a representative of white America, the wife, representative of the enslaved African who was brought over, was forced. Years have gone by. The marriage, of course, any marriage you don't want to be in is miserable. That wife is miserable. The husband abuses her, hits her, spits on her, mentally abuses her, emotionally abuses her, tells her she ain't shit, she'll never be shit. He doesn't want her to get an education. He just wants her to stay barefoot and pregnant and keep birthing his children. But one day, she has a friend that tells her, no, you have the right to be free from this. You don't have to stay in this marriage. You can get a divorce. So the wife, again, representative of black America, starts seeking her own education, starts seeking her own independence, starts seeking her own community and friends. And the husband, of course, hates that because now his wife's eyes are open. And he's afraid for two things. One, that he will no longer have that wife present for his own selfish gain, to do everything he wants, to be at his beck and call. But two, he's afraid that if she gets knowledge and understanding and wisdom, and to know who she really is and her intelligence and her greatness and her brilliance and her beauty, that she will reciprocate the pain, the agony, the devilish behaviors that he did to her. He thinks she will then reciprocate it and do it to him. That, my friend, is an example of how white America has been towards black Americans. You forced us into a marriage, thus slavery. And then throughout the years, Reconstruction, Jim Crow, civil rights, even on up, you have been abusive. And in that time of abuse, you did not want us to learn, so we had to open our own schools. You did not want us to read, so we had to sneak and read. You did not want us to have financial independence, so you all created, the government created something called redlining, where certain banks could only, they wouldn't back loans that were lent out to black people in certain areas. The GI Bill was created to help all veterans and to get homes, but it did not do that for blacks when it first started. So you have America has abused us and tried to keep us down because God forbid black people know who they are, bond and work together, You have two fears. One is that you will no longer have the control, and then you'll have to do your work yourself. You don't have anybody making you feel superior. And secondly, and I think this is the most, this is the biggest reason why you all still want to be the oppressor, is because you fear that we will do to you what your ancestors did to us. That's it. So I liken the relationship between white Americans and black Americans to the relationship of an abusive husband and an abused wife. But thank God that wife had enough strength and fortitude and gumption and moxie and faith to get the hell out of that marriage. And now she's soaring. We black people are soaring. Y'all be blessed.
We've tried to play fair. We've marched. We've played. We've prayed. We've begged. We've bled, and still the disrespect, the killings, the exclusion, the betrayal continues. So here's the question I'm asking today. Should black people separate from white America? Not out of hate, but for protection, for survival, for healing. This isn't about hating white people. This is about black survival. We've seen what happens when we depend on system not built for us. They gentrify our neighborhoods, poison our waters, kill our leaders, and rewrite our history. So maybe it's time we stop begging for seats and start building our own house. What do y'all think? Anyways, just watch those videos. I'll be back.
So I had some white colleagues ask me what I thought about Trump actually segregating whites and blacks. And I actually told them straight up, like, honestly, I would love that. Now, they looked at me like I was crazy, and they almost spit up their almond milk. And I think they thought that maybe I was saying that out of hatred, but it really isn't about hatred. Here's the thing. I'm not talking about their version of segregation. See, I'm talking about our version of righteous separation, spiritual sovereignty, and black sufficiency. See, the truth of it is that integration was never about freedom. It was finesse. It was a system's way of saying, let's stop them from succeeding independently so we can profit from their brilliance directly. It was about control. And so I want us to be very clear about this. You know, we were never separate but equal. So that's a lie. We were separate and excelling. We had our own schools. We had our own banks. We had our own businesses. And baby, we were thriving. Black Wall Street, they burned it. Rosewood, they bombed it. Wilmington, they overthrew it. Why? Because we were doing too well without them, and they couldn't handle that. And so that's the truth. They didn't really want segregation gone. They wanted control. This is why we know that integration was just repackage of chains. When we were separate, we actually were building and excelling. And when they saw that we could excel without them, then it was like, oh no, we got to take control and make sure that their labor is profiting us. So right around that time, they rolled out this whole standardized testing, ACT and SAT. Y'all remember that? They created this IQ ranking to measure their norms, not our brilliance. And then we were said we were behind when we really weren't. We were just building our own lane, not asking for theirs. See, I don't know about you all, but I'm kind of tired of the lies. It's very exhausting, you know, just the lies that continue to be promoted. And I want to talk about the melanin, because this whole thing that we're not smart enough, that we're not bright enough, is simply just a lie. And so, you know, all this testing that they're doing, and I have kids in school, and they're made to feel that they cannot achieve. And I have to remind them about their actual superpower, melanin. See, not just your skin tone, but in your brain, specifically neuromelanin, that rich dark pigment found in areas like the substantia nigra, which are critical for learning and memory and decision making and emotional regulation. See, if you don't know, then you won't know how to respond. But when you learn about the studies that have actually linked the neuromelanin to higher concentrations and how it's related to enhanced memory and processing and higher intelligence and faster reaction times, then you know why they have hidden this information for so long. Because when you have higher melanin, you have stronger brain resilience against degenerative diseases. So translation to that is melanin doesn't just make you glow, it makes you grow. So we know that it's not coincidental that people with more melanin have historically been creators, inventors, innovators across every discipline, while also being the most suppressed, because they know that the more melanin you have in your body and in your brain actually produces higher intelligence. So the Bible also says this too in 2 Corinthians chapter 4 verses 7. It says he placed treasures in earthen vessels. What treasures? It was in us all along, right? So we have more melanin, and we know that people with less melanin, because it's a recessive gene and it's a mutation, lack the same level of intelligence, of many different benefits that come along with that. What's so interesting about it is that we're supposed to be looking at this as if it's something negative. But why is it negative when every other cultural group does this? Group economics. See, the truth of the matter is they have stolen from us so many different things, and yet we still survive. And so I don't want to offend, but I have to be blunt here. When we invented it, they patented it. When we built it, they banked on it. So everything we created, they made sure they benefited off of it. Just like Louis Latimer, he actually developed the light bulb, but Edison got all the glory for it. And this has been going on through history. We know that Granville T. Woods laid the foundation for trains. Corporations got the contracts. Dr. Patricia Bath revolutionized eye surgery. The system licensed the tech. Black music became white record labels, billion-dollar industries off of our talent. Every time we create, they capitalize. We are the genius, but they control the royalties. It's quite interesting, isn't it? So when we talk about the facts and segregation, I want to be very clear. It's not racist. We have to understand the dynamics of this. See, the black dollar actually is the fastest running dollar in America. So let's do the math here. And I think it's quite funny. Black people have spending power over 1.6 trillion. But guess what? That dollar stays in our community just for 6 hours, while the white community their dollar stays in their community 17 days. And guess what? Asian communities, it stays in their community 20 days. Jewish communities over 3 weeks. Why? Because we're systemically disarmed from owning what we build. And this is no coinky dink. The scripture said this would happen. So now our dollar does the labor, but the system collects the check. And this is why I support segregation on our own terms. See, that 400 years of slavery is over. And when I say that I want us to be segregated, I don't mean oppressed. I mean organized. Let's build black banks again. Let's educate our babies on the truth, not whitewashed lies. And let's support black farmers, black techs, black healing, black brilliance. And no, it doesn't mean I hate white people. No, it means I finally love us enough to stop begging for scraps from a table we built but never welcomed to. See, the Bible told us about this, yet we hop, skip, and jump over the fact that Deuteronomy 28, 43, and 44 already said it. It says, the stranger shall rise above you high, and you shall come down low. They shall lend to you, but you shall not lend to them. And this is exactly what has been happening for 400 years plus years. We built houses, businesses, schools, and they took them and taxed them to death. But beloved, there's hope, because Deuteronomy 30:3 also says, and Yah will turn your captivity and have compassion upon you, and will return and gather you from all nations. So yes, I welcome segregation, because restoration is already in motion. And I want y'all to understand this. We are not asking for more, we're building. See, we were never given anything from you all. I'm not asking to sit at somebody's table anymore. See, I'm trying to go along with scripture and build my people, gather my people, not because they are more melanated, but because we need to know that we serve the Most High and that He's going to take care of us, because separation was never our curse. It was our covenant. And now it's our strategy. It says to come out from among them, be ye separated. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 17. So this isn't about racism. It's about us reclaiming what is already ours.
Y'all, I'm going to take a moment this morning to clear up some confusion. Black people not wanting to be around white people is not hate. It's rational.
Man, capital God. I be watching this brother on YouTube, bad time. How you walking? Like, hold on, man. This is the God right here, though.
What's going on?
I'm Alaikum, man.
How you doing?
Peace, brother. I'm doing good,
Yes,
man.
sir. What's your
Good
name?
to see you, man. Mari.
Bari?
Yup.
Good to meet you, man.
Good to see you, man. I see you on YouTube, man. Day, man.
Do y'all believe black people can be free and separate and have our own land?
You said what?
Hell no!
Why you say that?
White people is too fucking powerful for a day. With they ass
Now, what's your name?
Kenya.
Kenya. Now, what if we what if I told you we already got some land and we already separating to be free? What would you say?
Then shit, it might work out.
Would you want to be a part of something like that? If there was a group of black people that was doing that, would y'all want to be a part of something like that? Yeah. All right, look, can y'all get y'all phones out? Everybody go to Instagram. Type in Hereafter Farms.
Damn, cold as hell.
You know what?
Hereafter Farms.
Just send it to me.
Right here?
You got it? Yeah, that's us right there. We got over 1,600 acres of land. We got our own food that we're going to be growing, building our own schools, and we want y'all to be a part of this work, because I know y'all young and y'all got some great ideas. So I want to show you that we can do it, but we got to have unity to do it. And we can't think that they just so powerful. Yes, white supremacy is real, but black excellence will help us overcome that white supremacy.
I'll probably get called a racist bigot for this one, but nothing new to me. If a group of people tells you that they don't want to live near you, if a whole group of people looks at you and is like, I don't really want to be in a community with you. I'm just going to go over here with my people and do my thing. Why the hell would you want to follow them? Why would you care? Why would you want to live in that neighborhood? If a group of people looked at me and were like, I don't like straight white Christian girls, or even not that I don't like you. I don't want to integrate with you. We have nothing in common. We don't share no morals. We have no cultural similarities. We don't vibe. I want to go live over here with the people who I vibe with. I wouldn't be like, let me in! Let me in! I'd be like, bye. Okay. Everybody's we're segregating and it's not inclusive. Why would you want to live near them? This group of people is telling you. They're outing themselves. Hey, me over here. Me. I don't like you. I'm gonna go away from you. I'm not gonna kick you out. I'm not gonna you stay where you are. You do your thing. I'm going over here. What the? Okay. Let them. Regardless of whoever this is. Any group of people could do this, and I'd be like, bet. Go be with the people who want to be around you. Stop trying to follow. Why can't I live in the neighborhood? Why would you want?
Do you know who actually does this the most? But because they don't have to justify it, because there's no announcement, there's no recruitment, there's no, Instagram post about it, there's no X community about it. Do you know the people that do this the most, honestly? I know what you're going to say. You're going to say black people. Some people may say Arabic people. You may even go over to Asian people, specifically Japanese. You may even say Indian people. Nope. It's rich people. Rich people. Rich people segregate themselves and they don't make an announcement about it. They only compete with themselves and each other. And if you really look at it from that lens, because most people are upset at the idea that it's white people because historically we've been programmed to think that all white people are the devil. They basically have been creating indoctrination camps at college campuses and all across the globe. And so we've been bamboozled into thinking that we need to segregate ourselves when most people don't even realize that this is a class war. Has nothing to do with whether or not you in the Ozarks in Arkansas. I promise you, there is nothing over in the Ozarks of Arkansas that you want to diversity, equity, and inclusion yourself into. I'll never in my lifetime ever go to the Ozarks of Arkansas at all.
Research reveals that black leaders face many unique challenges that white leaders do not face. The first challenge is the constant scrutiny and pressure to perform, which can be overwhelming. Studies have shown that black leaders are often held to higher standards than their white counterparts, and when they fail, they are more likely to be blamed for the organization's failures. This scrutiny can lead to feelings of isolation and burnout. Additionally, black leaders often face what is known as the double bind, a situation where they are expected to adhere to both white and black cultural norms. This creates a challenge and balancing act where black leaders must navigate between two worlds while staying true to their own identities. Research suggests that this constant balancing act can be emotionally and mentally draining. Also, black leaders often face resistance from their peers and subordinates who may be resistant to following their leadership. This resistance can stem from both conscious and unconscious biases, which can be difficult to address. A study conducted by the Center for Talent Innovation found that 64% of black professionals reported that they faced bias from their colleagues. Black leaders often face limited opportunities for advancement. This is due to a variety of factors, including the lack of diversity in leadership positions and the fact that black leaders are often pigeonholed into specific roles. A study conducted by the Center for American Progress found that only 10% of Fortune 500 CEOs are black. Black leaders often face the challenge of being perceived as a threat. This perception can be due to the unconscious biases that people hold, and it can be manifested in the form of microaggressions, such as being interrupted during meetings or having their ideas dismissed without consideration. A study conducted by the Harvard Business Review found that black professionals were 3.5 times more likely than their white counterparts to report experiencing racial bias in the workplace. Despite these challenges, many black leaders continue to make significant contributions to their organizations and communities. However, it is important to acknowledge the systemic racism that they face and work to address it. The challenges faced by black leaders due to systemic racism are numerous and significant, including constant scrutiny and pressure to perform, navigating the double bind, facing resistance from peer and subordinates, and limited opportunities for advancement, and being perceived as a threat. It is crucial that we recognize and work to address these challenges to create a more equitable and inclusive workplace for all leaders.
I just learned about old Charlie Kirk yesterday from the black community, so I assumed we was all like, fuck that guy, you know, but I got to work this morning and I was talking to my older white co-workers, and apparently that is not the consensus. I guess the whites fucked with him, huh? My bad. I ain't know that. It's like, how you ain't know who he was? He's all over my algorithm. So, I guess we on different algorithms. You know who Dr. Umar Johnson is? How you don't know who he is? Violence is never the answer. I 100% agree. Though it is an answer. And I think if you look historically, it's often the only answer.
Malcolm X once said that the white liberal is the biggest enemy to the black man. I didn't understand that quote fully for a long time, but now I see it clearer than day. I read something once that described this perfectly. I think it was Akala's book, Natives. This isn't verbatim, but it was something along the lines of, Liberals will cosplay as people with good values as long as it fits their aesthetic, but when push actually comes to shove and when things potentially are going to get ugly, they dip. I had a bit of an existential crisis recently because a lot of the lefty friends in my area aren't coming to the fundraisers that I've organised. They're not coming with me on protests. They're not coming with me on counter demos. A lot of their excuses for not attending these things is because their mental health is too poor, but they have seemed got the energy to go to pride events or festivals. And I'm not saying that these people are bad people, but if you're only ever showing up and showing off your lefty politics in person at things where it's all lollipops and rainbows, I don't think you're as much of an ally as you think that you are. It's all very well thinking, I'm against what's happening in the UK, I'm against rising fascism, I'm against racism, I want a liberated Palestine. But if you're only ever thinking those things and it's not relaying into actual, in real life action, you are just a lefty in theory and not in practicality. And I am a strong believer that you are only as good as your actions. And by the way, I know that there are lots of different ways that you can show your activism. If you're not going out to protest because you're scared of showing your face or whatever, maybe you're donating or something. I hope that you are. And a lot of the time, in fact, more often than not, the excuses that these people give for not being at these actions is their mental health, which, I'm sorry, I just find that an absurdly privileged take. Going back to how I said a lot of them are still attending pride events, for example, I would bet my bottom quid that around the time of the Stonewall riots, these liberal types would have been nowhere to be seen. And this is kind of the point I'm trying to get to, is that you can't just decide that you're on board with something and start showing your face at something whilst other people have fought the fight to make it safe for you. That's another thing that keeps coming up with these excuses of, oh, I don't feel safe, I don't want to put myself in that position. And in reality, if you're white, you are safer than most in this country right now. When I go to these events, when I go to these fundraisers and the local demos and the larger demos up in London, I look around. Who am I largely surrounded by? People of colour, LGBT people, neurospicy people, or people who have known oppression. Back to the original Malcolm X quote that I started this video with. Why are white liberals so dangerous to the black man or to people of colour in general? Because they pretend to be allies. But when it comes to actually showing up, they disappear. I'm not making this video to talk down to anyone, to put myself on a pedestal. I'm saying this because I know that a lot of the white, liberal, lefty friends that I have do have good values, but I'm confused why you're not really acting on them. And just remember, the Nazis in World War II, it wasn't just the Nazis responsible for what happened to all of those people. It was also the bystanders who, for one reason or another, didn't get involved in stopping it. You are only as good as your actions, so ask yourself, are you doing enough?
Okay, so I know this is going to ruffle some feathers, but it needs to be said, and please know that I am coming from a place of love because I know that your efforts come from a good place. But white liberals, you are not saving the Black community. You are holding us back. It's not allyship, it's enabling. You excuse destructive choices, you lower the bar, you hand out sympathy instead of standards, and you call that progress. Here's the truth that nobody wants to say out loud. We're not the only group with a painful past. Jewish people survived genocide and rebuilt. Asian immigrants came here with nothing and built thriving businesses and schools. We don't hand them safe spaces. We don't rewrite laws to excuse their failures. We don't glorify victimhood for anyone else. So why is that standard different for us? We built an entire system around the lie that Black people can't compete, and we call it justice. DEI, affirmative action, safe spaces, watered down schools, and even lighter sentences for crime. That's not empowerment. That's soft bigotry dressed up as compassion, and it's all causing more harm than good to the Black community. It whispers you're too weak, too damaged, too broken to do this on your own, and we've accepted that lie for far too long. We don't need your pity. We don't need you to lower the bar. We need to be held to the same standard as everyone else. Because true empowerment doesn't come from being coddled, it comes from being called higher. Charlie Kirk said this over and over again. He asked Black America to stop fixating so much on our race and our difficult history. He encouraged everyone from every background and walk of life to make their past a reference, not their residence. And sadly, his honesty caused him to be labeled a racist, despite the fact that he was simply telling us the hard truth. So here's my challenge for white liberals. Stop lowering the bar for us. Stop designing programs that assume that we can't win without a handicap. If you truly believe in Black excellence, then treat us like the powerful, capable, brilliant people that we are. Stand with us, not over us. Walk beside us, not ahead of us. And Black people, if you're still here, slavery happened, oppression exists, but our history is also full of resilience and brilliance. Research Frederick Douglass and Booker T. Washington and Madam C.J. Walker. We've been free for 150 years, but somehow we feel justified in marinating in our victimhood while holding a $1,000 iPhone, rocking $200 shoes, and having nothing and no one standing in our way but ourselves. Pick up your mat and walk.
No, these not the same group of people. These not the same motherfucking people who swore Black Americans had no culture. But now that Mona Leo came out with Sexy Solon, you trying to grab pieces of the culture? Y'all are doing too much. Cause I just know these cannot be the same people who fucking swore that when it came to Black American culture that they in fact had none, and stated that whatever they do have is watered down from African culture. Y'all remember when y'all was saying this shit? Do y'all remember? Cause I do. Just to let you know how fucking real I am, I used to say this shit too. I did, when it was fed to me. I was told by my parents, who were told by their parents, who were told by their parents. But I grew the fuck up and I educated myself. But we not talking about me, we talking about y'all. Cause y'all used to really get on them. And I remember, cause I used to be a part of the shit, really get on them, swearing up and down that they had no fucking culture. Not everybody is Solon. Everybody is Solon now? How can that be? I thought they had no culture. And I hope that it is abundantly clear what we're all witnessing, okay? It is now that when Black Americans are being celebrated, right? Other Black nations are feeling the need, and it's definitely from the younger ones and some of the super older ones. I don't think so much the millennials, right? Other Black nations are feeling the need to claim parts of their culture as if it's theirs. As if it's theirs. Trying to fit into a space that is clearly being catered to one group for the time being. It's catered to them, to celebrate them, to highlight them. And instead of us encouraging and celebrating and rooting for our Black American brothers and sisters, you're trying to share the spotlight. You're trying to share the spotlight. Why? What was your first reaction for you to try to fit and conform into a space or in a situation that you are clearly not the focus for? You were not the focus. That don't make you bad, but you just wasn't the focus. Same shit that I was trying to explain to y'all when it came to that fucking Essence Festival discourse. I was trying to let you know that a situation, that an event that was catered for Black American culture was being Afro-culturified. You understand? And you guys kept saying, no, it's okay, it's inclusion. Why'd they have a problem with inclusion? It's not inclusion, it's erasure. It's erasure. That's what the fuck it is. Okay? And you guys have been doing that. Other Black nations, you've been doing that, and it just so happens that anytime that you see something that is of value connected to African Americans, that's when all of a sudden we are all the same. But before then, any other time, any other given day of the week, you're calling them lazy. You saying that they have no culture. That's what come out your mouth. But as soon as you see something of value connected to them, now all of a sudden you want parts? You want parts? Us West Indian people, we're West Indian. And then for me as a Haitian, I'm a Zo, okay? A Black American princess can't call herself a Zo. She can align with the Zos, but she's not a Zo. She's a Solon. I am a Zo. I'm not a Solon. And that's okay. So when Sexy Solon gets on, I'm not in the back, thankfully. I'm not, I'm in the middle. But I'm not at the front because it's not for me, and it's okay. But guess what? Guess who y'all gonna hear rooting for her Black American baddie ass fucking me. Let's get into that mindset that have y'all being like this. Let's get into that. Let's dissect that. Mindset that there has to be one dominant Black amongst all Blacks. A mindset that was fed to us by our oppressors and that you guys continue to feed off of. Real reason why, when you see other black nations being celebrated for that time being, you feel the need, as another black person from another black nation, you feel the need to insert yourself, right? Is because you were taught by the best. You were taught by the very fucking best, the oppressors. Rooting for your fellow black, you understand, brothers and sisters, you want to claim something that you now perceive as valuable. Now that you see that it has value, you want it. And guess who taught you how to do that shit? White supremacy. White supremacy tells you that there's one, that great one amongst all the other rest. And every time that great one, white supremacy, sees other groups doing something of value, what do? They steal it. They steal it and they say that it's inclusion. It's because of that why we think or thought growing up that pizza was actually American and not Italian food. Why hamburgers was actually American food and not German. Hot dogs, German, not American. It's because of that, okay? When they say inclusion, it's not inclusion, it's erasure. It's erasure to the point where you only associate one group now and it's not the original group. It's not the original group. And you guys are doing exactly what your oppressors taught you to do. Exactly what your oppressors they taught you to do. You can't even celebrate your fellow black people without you inserting and claiming and taking something from it as if it's yours, and it's not. Because, like I stated, I may have a baddie, black American princess, Solon, but she can never be a Zoe. She can never be a Haitian dame. She can never be a West Indian. She can never be a Caribbean person. That's not for her. It's for me. Just like I can't be a soul. And guess what, though? We can respect each other. When I hear that song, I'm bigging up my friend. And when she hears a Caribbean song, she's bigging me up. That's the respect that motherfuckers is talking about. That's the fucking respect. And when y'all learn how to have that, then we could be together. Then we could unify. But I just felt the need to call you guys out because not you motherfuckers being the same people swearing that black Americans have no culture now trying to take a piece. Unpack that.
U.S. churches were full-fledged stakeholders in slavery. Episcopal, Presbyterian, Baptist, Methodist, major denominations owned enslaved people, rented them out, and in some cases, they confined them in jail-like pens beneath or beside their sanctuaries, while white Christians prayed upstairs. Black men, women, and children were shackled below, treated as inventory instead of human beings. Now, it was common for enslavers to require their slaves to go to church so that they could learn about being a humble slave to their masters. But these people held in the pens below were livestock waiting to be sold, being punished. Who knows what? Georgetown University's Jesuit priests sold 272 enslaved people in 1838 to pay off school debts. In Charleston, St. Philip's, and St. Michael's, they forced black attendees into upper galleries while white parishioners sat in comfort below. Methodist ministers in the South regularly enslaved people as personal property. And of course, many ministers in the South enslaved people as personal property. Southern Baptists split from Northern Baptists in 1845 for one reason: to defend their right to keep enslaved people. Churches built slave galleries to force enslaved people to attend services, but not sit with white people. And the sermons told them to obey their masters. But the people locked in the church pens, they weren't taken upstairs to worship. They were confined like livestock. They were waiting to be sold, rented, or punished. The church baptized enslaved people. They preached a lot about obedience, and they promised them life after death in heaven, while profiting from their stolen lives on earth. This is white history, and white Christians especially need to own it. My username works as my address in case I disappear. Get curious.
And I hate how like vitriolic this sounds, but Harriet Tubman, I believe, said herself, you can't save them all. And that's truly a major part of Black American survival. When you know a force is working against you, you can't say, like, it's instinctual for Black Americans to prioritize ourselves in times of desperate need. Like, we will save a person, be in solidarity with alliances all day, all night. But when those people are working against us actively, Black people, Black Americans, please be wary of the information that you're starting to receive from a lot of Black immigrants or other members of the African diaspora that may be first or second generation American citizens, because there's a lot of misinformation right now spreading when tensions are especially high of ICE arresting Black Americans and whatnot, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to loop us in with their struggles and their stripes and their detainees and or their detainments. This is solely meant to fearmonger and to scare Black Americans into empathy protesting with them, because what they're realizing is that many of like the white leftists who are responsible for corrupting them into this leftist ideology, leftist unrealistic framework, you're now stuck to live with the consequences of their inaction and yours by not voting. And I don't want to sound MAGA.
I won't sound like no MAGA.
I will never vote for a MAGA, a Trump, because I'm a Democrat. They've returned to their whiteness, they've returned to their privilege, because they've realized what, yet again, an anarchical Marxist vision board for the United States is highly impractical and unrealistic. So now they're back to whatever they were before. And you're not. But you have to come in this country legally, and you will not subject Black Americans who have been the victims of centuries of not being perceived as American enough or othered, when you quite literally cannot deport us anywhere outside of the continental United States. That would literally be like taking a salamander and just dropping it off in the middle of Alaska and being like, okay, it actually would survive. Like, where are you going to deport us? No. So stop. Be wary. And I'm so serious. A lot of these leftists on TikTok, check their bios. They have flags of other countries in there, and they're masquerading as Black Americans because, yes, many of them do look like they could be Black American, but they're not. And they're fleeing from other countries in which these failed forms of Marxism or leftist ideology quite literally failed. And they're trying to not vote their way into having the same thing happen here, but then per recent election, you fool around, play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
What's segregation? The 6-year-old I nanny for asked me. And I said, sure, segregation is like separation. It's a time in history where white people told Black and brown people that they couldn't use the same things as them. They couldn't use the same hospitals or water fountains or playgrounds or schools or grocery stores, and everything had to be different. And it was less than. They weren't given enough money. They weren't given enough supplies. They weren't given enough of any resource that they needed, and white people tried to pretend that this was okay and this was not a bad thing to do, and that's called segregation. Then she says, Katie, were you one of those white people? And I said, no, I was not one of those white people. I wasn't even born. And before I could say born, before I say born, she goes, were you one of the Black people? So no, I wasn't.
America is a white man's country. A country that was stolen by the white man from the dark-skinned Indian, who then kidnapped our people, as I said, and brought us here in chains to work and build this country and make a wealthy nation, not for Black people, but for white people. To make a strong nation, not for Black people, but for white people. And even today, America is still a country whose governmental system is based upon freedom, justice, and equality for white people only. There's no such thing as freedom in this country for a Black man. There's no such thing as justice in this country for a Black man. And there's no such thing as equality in this country for a Black man. This is a white man's country.
White Americans have shown us over and over what we mean to them. And the truth is, if we keep depending on a system that is not built for us, we will never be free. Maybe we need our own economy, our own culture, our own space to breathe, not out of hate, but out of love for ourselves. That's the conversation I'm starting today. So I'll ask again, should Black Americans separate? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about it. Do not forget to subscribe, like, share these videos to your friend. Do not forget it's your sister Blessing on Global Gist with BJ. I'll see you next time. Bye.